Thanks for joining me today for episode 174 of Think Big with Michael Zellner, sponsored by Sleepy Z's Masonry. My guest joining me again today is Dr. Sheila Nazarian. She's joining me for the second week in a row because next week, as everybody knows, November 5th is Election Day, and it's a super important day for America and actually for the entire world. She's here to talk a little bit about Israel and also the urgency and importance of the presidential election. Depending on the outcome and what's going to happen in the election next week is going to determine the future of America and also the entire world. And we're going to talk about how Israel and the world and the election, it all ties together. You know, over the last 9 years, Donald Trump, since he came down that escalator, has been compared to Adolf Hitler. This is going on during all three of his presidential runs, as we hear now, maybe now more than ever, especially starting once again this week in the desperation that they're in. The talking points all went out to all the different media, and it started with Kamala Harris in her speech the other day, short speech, which once again, she's like, no questions afterwards. And after watching her excerpts of her CNN debacle town hall last night, it's understandably why she cannot take any questions. And she has actually not done a press conference since she has been, I can't use the word nominated, given that she was, yes, placed. There you go, Doc. Placed in the election, even though she has won no votes and they did a coup on Joe. I don't like Joe Biden, but the way they handled that whole situation was just horrible. Talk about being non-presidential for Donald Trump. What they did to Joe Biden was completely, out of line. Yeah. Instead of using my opinion on Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler, I decided to go online to iask.ai and ask a couple of questions. I'm going to read them one at a time, and then I'm going to let you talk about it, please. The first one I asked AI, I said, would a man who admires Hitler be supportive of Israel and Jewish people? I thought it's a very simple question. Lots and lots of information, but I'll read just some of the little excerpts I thought that were important. One of it says, consequently, an individual who idolizes Hitler is likely to harbor negative sentiments towards Jewish communities and the right to self-determination, as exemplified by the establishment of Israel. And then it says, in conclusion, a man who admires Hitler would not be supportive of Israel and Jewish people, and such admiration is fundamentally rooted in anti-Semitism and opposition to the values that underpin support for the Jewish community. And the sources they used were Yale University Press, the United States Holocaust Museum, and also the New York Times. Don't you find it just amazing, Dr. Nazarian, that at this point, I mean, it's not surprising that nothing's left. There's no talking points that she has that can come back against anything he's saying about what they've done the last 4 years that she has been a part of. Proudly says that she's been the last person in the room, that they've extorted to comparing this man to someone who murdered 6 million Jews and millions and millions and millions all across Europe, back in the 30s and 40s. Isn't it just horrible?
It's, first of all, it's desperate. Second of all, I've seen so many tweets from children of Holocaust survivors being like, take the Holocaust out of your mouth, Kamala. Clearly the joy is gone. Her campaign is definitely ending on a very negative note, whereas the joy has gone to Trump and the McDonald's,
that was awesome.
The entertainment, the fun, has kind of gone into the GOP's campaign. But the thing I want to pose to the Harris campaign, I have not seen one photo of Harris standing in front of Israeli flags. Right. And I have been in the same room as Trump 3 times in the last 3 months, whether it was DC, Bedminster, or Los Angeles, and he was standing in front of 10 American flags lined up with 10 Israeli flags. And he's gone to the Western Wall. He's prayed at the Western Wall on October 7th. He was with Orthodox rabbis. And that's the other thing I have to tell you. Every time I'm in a room with Trump, it's all immigrants and Orthodox Jews. So, you can be desperate, you can continue to lie, you can continue to say, I made a video yesterday on my Instagram. I don't know if you saw it, but I was like, guys, I heard from a friend of a friend at band camp that Trump said he wants his people to be like Hitler's people. It's so disrespectful. It's so desperate. It's gross. And it's certainly the other point I actually want to bring up, which is interesting. Somebody commented months ago on my Instagram that, Trump saying "Make America Great Again" was a Nazi themed statement. And I went and I looked it up. It was actually a Reagan campaign statement. Okay.
Oh.
But you know where joy came from?
Where?
The Nazis.
Oh my gosh.
The campaign slogan for the Nazis and Hitler was joy.
Wow.
And this whole thing about everything they accuse other people of being is a projection of exactly who they are.
Absolutely.
Who wants to attack the Constitution? Who wants to attack democracy? The person who was placed, not nominated. The person who wants to censor and take away freedom of speech. The person who wants to ban assault weapons when they can't even define what an assault weapon is. The person who's attacking democracy, the person who's attacking the Constitution is the one claiming that the other side is guilty of it.
Absolutely. I asked another question, and just to show everybody that they can see it, this is, Ask AI, just so everybody knows that I'm not making any of this up. I asked the question, would someone who is Hitler-like approve of their daughter marrying an Orthodox Jew? And it says, understand the ideology. It says to address someone who is Hitler-like would approve of their daughter marrying an Orthodox Jew. We must first understand the core beliefs and ideologies associated with Hitler and the Nazi regime. His ideology was rooted in extreme anti-Semitism, which viewed Jews as racially inferior and a threat to society. This belief system led to widespread discrimination, persecution, and ultimately the genocide of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. And at the very end, it just says, thus, the answer to someone who is Hitler-like would approve of their daughter marrying an Orthodox Jews is no. They would not approve due to deeply ingrained anti-Semitic beliefs and cultural prejudices inherent with such ideologies. So we talked a little bit about this last time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask that question again and talk about it because I think it's so important. He obviously loves his daughter.
Yep, a lot.
And if he did not like Jewish people, he would not have many, probably hundreds of thousands that he's dealt with in business over, 50, 60 years. And I guarantee you that, Ivanka probably, when introduced, Jared to Donald Trump.
Right.
And she probably asked her father for, his blessing. If he did. I mean, and, once again, Orthodox, very, very hard to become an Orthodox Jew, lots of studying, lots of things you have to do, and also raising their kids Jewish. Those are the kind of things when I hear on television, when I hear the Harris campaign, when I hear her spokespeople out there, desperate that he's Hitler, it just drives me absolutely insane. It's like, that is just, it's so irrational. When you look at that, say, of course, his daughter, he would have said, no, I don't approve of that. I'm sorry. I love you, but I don't approve of that. But he didn't. He loves her. He loves his grandchildren. He loves his son-in-law. And he obviously daunts all over them, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he does. And I think that, again, something, that they say on one side is like, oh, Trump, doesn't like the Jews and he only likes the Jews when it's convenient for him. He's the one that showed up at the IAC, at the Israel American Conference. Neither Biden nor Harris, despite being invited, did not show up because too afraid that they're going to piss off the Michigan, Arab vote.
Yep.
Trump showed up, and I think he's winning that vote, by the way, because a lot of Arabs, they just want peace, you
Yeah.
know? And the ones that she is pissing off, they're not saying go vote for Donald Trump, they're saying go vote for Jill Stein. So the ones that don't want peace and would be pissed off at Harris are still pissed off at her and telling everybody to go for Jill Stein. The ones that do want peace, which is the vast majority actually, are showing up to Trump's rallies, and one of them screamed from the audience, "We trust you, we want peace," you know. So um I think that's really interesting. But a lot of people will come, Michael, and they'll say, "Oh, but you know, Harris is married to a Jew." But clearly, I mean, he doesn't like observe at all. I mean,
Oh, not at all.
he's not an Orthodox Jew, like an observant Jew, like just, you know, he has the genetics probably, as we all do. But you know, even his own daughter was raising money for
Yes.
Gaza, which clearly goes to Hamas. It doesn't even end up in the hands of the people in Gaza to help them. So instead of raising money for psychiatric help for Nova survivors or for the children that have had to live their young lives in bomb shelters, no, she went and raised money for an organization that the money's going to just end up enriching Hamas. So, you know, there's Jews that are observant and that understand that every prayer we say next year in Jerusalem, that understand what Israel means and that we all have the DNA of Judea. So I always tell people, you know, if you dug up my bones 2,000 years from now, you would know that I am a Jew because on my genetic testing, it says Jewish. No other religion shows up on genetic testing because no other religion is an ethno-religion. Judaism predates the current definitions of ethnicity and religion. And so they say go back to Poland or you're occupying the land. How can we be occupying a land that we're indigenous to, that our genetics say we are indigenous to? It's like telling an American Indian go back to Poland. No, they're indigenous to this land. Other people can live here, but you certainly can't tell them to leave. So again, it's another case of, you know, accusing a man of something that they are themselves guilty of. You know, the other day, Kamal was at a rally and some guy from the audience starts screaming, you know, this many children are dead, that many children are dead, you know, genocide this. And her answer is, that is real.
Yes, I saw that.
You know, and it's like, no, it's not real. There is no genocide. Genocide is when you go from 10 million Jews to 4 million Jews. There has to be intent, and then there has to be the numbers. You know, the Palestinians have gone from 500,000 to 5 million since the 1940s, right? So the numbers don't make sense at all. And then the intent is not there. Why would Israel pause the war to vaccinate the children of Gaza against polio? Why would they take cancer patients out of Gaza during a war into Israeli hospitals to treat them for cancer? Why did they remove Sinwar's brain tumor in 2008?
Right, right.
You know, why do they warn the civilians before they strike a terrorist site? You know, why would they do all of these things if their intent was genocide? Also, I mean, the Air Force capabilities of Israel are insane. We all know that. We've seen it. So if they wanted a genocide, why didn't they just serial bomb Gaza and kill everybody on October 8th of last year? So again, facts don't matter. It's all about feelings. Same with Kamala's strategy. The facts, you know, aren't in favor of her. She's accomplished nothing. The administration has been a disaster. Crime is up. They've let in so many illegal immigrants that it's straining the health system. It is leading to longer ER times. She's proposing giving benefits to these immigrants who've never paid into it. And so everyone's seeing that, you know, the facts aren't on her side. So all she has is feelings. And that's what she's trying to rile up right now. That's the end game strategy in the home stretch.
Yeah, speaking of ER times, I talked to someone in California, a friend of mine who's a U.S. attorney in San Diego, and he said that a friend of his had to wait 11 hours in the ER. And so I told him, I said, next time, tell them to call an ambulance because then you get in right away. My dad used to tell me
But
that.
then you have to pay for the ambulance. That's
Right.
the problem.
Right. That's the problem. Right. But at least you get in right away if it is a strict.
If it is, yeah, if it is an emergency for sure. I'm still a teaching professor at USC, and I did my residency at LA County Hospital. And even at that time, people would come with instructions from Mexico of how to get to the LA County Hospital to receive free care. And they would show, it was like a map where it would show like how they could get to LA County for their, whatever wound they had or whatever ailment it was that they needed treatment for. Now, they're not even held back anymore. They're all here. So I can just imagine how overwhelmed these systems are at this point.
Yes, definitely. Last time we talked about, you had mentioned about Don Lemon, and he was out interviewing people, and he couldn't understand how they were going to vote for Trump, and trying to tell them, no, but the economy is good, and everything like that. And I found a tweet online. It says, rich woman says your financial struggles are not real. You're just imagining things and being emotional. And it was directed at MSNBC's Nicole Wallace, who says it's not a feel issue. No, they were telling her it's not a feel issue, like she was saying. It's a real issue, and people are experiencing it every day. And there's a chart that says inflation by administration that I have here, and it shows Trump and then Harris Biden. Energy down 0.7% during Trump, up 40.2%. during the Harris Biden. Gas down 6.8%, up 50.5%. I won't read all of them, just a few. Fuel oil down 5.1%, up 49.1%, Harris Biden. Transportation 2.1% up during Trump, up 32.9% during Harris Biden. Car insurance up 6.7% during Trump, up 54.3% during Harris Biden. Groceries up 5.9% during Trump, up 21.6% during Harris Biden. Pet food up 2.1% Trump, up 23.8% during Harris Biden. And last one, non-prescription drugs down 0.8% during Trump, up 18.4% during Harris Biden. Now, these are real numbers. And these are numbers that, if you don't watch the right network, if you don't read the right articles online, many people don't see those real numbers. They just.
I disagree. I think everyone's seeing those numbers. They might not see the numbers.
Sure. Right.
Numbers when they check out. Did you see that one guy that was like reordering from Walmart? So this guy, millennial, he'd gone on his little Walmart app, and he wanted to repeat an order that he had made in the past. And it was up 3 times. So like a $100 order, the exact same order, he just wanted to repeat the order, was like $300. So,
wow.
He's just like, what the heck is going on? There's a lot of memes also where they're like, 4 years ago, if I spent $100 at the supermarket, I'd come back with 4 bags. Now it's just 1 bag, if I spent $100 at the supermarket. So I think that what the Harris campaign right now is doing is tell people to like not believe their own eyes and not believe their own wallets. Right. And I think that's why during that Don Lemon interview, when he told that guy, no, the economy is actually better, the guy just started laughing because he's like, don't be ridiculous. Like it's apparent to everybody. They might not know the exact numbers that you just, gave us, the facts that you just gave us, but everyone is noticing, that their dollar isn't going very far.
Right. A lot of people that might not know your story, and I remember you telling me about how you had to escape in the back of a pickup truck out of Iran, I believe, in the late 70s, early 80s, around that time. You said, quote, I've never been prouder of my Iranian heritage, seeing my people stand up for what they believe in, stand up for their core values. They're risking their lives to do so for the future of their children. It's now been proven without any doubt that Obama sent up a plane full of billions of dollars to Iran before his presidency ended. I can't believe I voted for that man twice. Had I seen the picture of him from 2005 that they hid with him and Louis Farrakhan, that they hid purposely, I never would have voted for his quote hope and change. And I feel like he probably wouldn't have become president if people had seen that picture. Maybe not. We don't know. But he did. Former President Trump left Iran broke when he, after his presidency
Exactly.
ended. And Harris come in and try to do the same thing that Obama did, which was try
Right.
to appease these people, be nice, and gave them billions of dollars. So in actuality, we have funded the war against Israel, with Iran giving money to Hezbollah, the Houthis, to Hamas. They build and bomb Israel. They build bombs and tunnels and missiles, everything they can do to, kill Israelis and destroy Israel. All of these idiots here across the West that have been protesting.
Not just that, too. We've also been funding them through the United Nations.
Exactly. Right.
To,
That's very true.
UNFIL in Lebanon and UNRWA in Gaza, a lot of we saw a picture of a bomb being, launched into Israel, and it was being held up by bags of flour that said UNRWA on them.
I just saw today where Blinken just announced another 160, 70 million to Palestinians.
Yep.
We gave, she gave 170 to Lebanon. Meanwhile, we have hurricane victims that can't get water here in our own country.
Right.
They're protesting here across the West. They don't see it or refuse to believe that these people murdered, raped, beheaded Jews, and they would do it to them in a second too.
One thing that I do want to mention, Michael, on that, I just want to make a clear distinction. I think a lot of people in the Republican Party are like very much what you said, like send the money to people in the US. So I just want to make the distinction at this point that our relationship with Israel is not the same as our relationship with Ukraine. I don't know if you want to get into that or
absolutely.
what your opinions are on that. But like, for example, I was doing a video for Jubilee, which is a YouTube channel that'll come out soon. And I was sitting next to a guy that served in the military, and he said, yeah, we shouldn't be sending any money, to Israel and to whatever. And I'm like, dude, like Israel just took out the leader of Hezbollah, who is responsible for killing 142 Marines. And he's like, oh. So I just feel like even within the Republican Party, like they don't understand the favor that Israel is doing for America and for democracy and for all of Western values.
Right.
And also just like the amount of intelligence that Israel provides, how closely the FBI works with Israel in the intelligence community. So it's sort of like, I just want people to know that it is greatly to the benefit of America and American interests and American safety to have close ties with Israel. And any money that America sends to Israel, Israel uses to buy weapons from America. So the money just comes right back.
Right.
So I just want to make, it's not like a one-way thing, and and whether you want to support Ukraine or you don't want to support Ukraine is up to you.
Sure.
But I just want people to understand the relationship with Israel is not one-sided. It's not altruism. It's very much in the interests of America. Israel took out two terrorist leaders that were on America's list, that they had like bounties on these people's heads, like $5 million to whoever can get this guy, $7 million to whoever can get this guy. Israel got him. So it's not the same. I just want to make sure that people listening to this that are Republican understand that it's a very different relationship. It's a very much a two-way relationship, any support that we give to Israel.
And if you go back and study, and a lot of people haven't, the last 10, 15 years, the history of Ukraine, how corrupt the government is over there. It's not the people, it's not the people that, we're talking about. It's the government, how corrupt that they are. And I think a lot of that money is funneled back to politicians here in this country.
I do too.
They're getting rich off,
but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, they're getting rich off. It's like, how do you make $174,900 a year and you have $4 million mansions?
Exactly. And it's not from speaking gigs.
Exactly. Right. Especially when you're in the Senate or in Congress.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a two-state solution. It will not work. We cannot coexist. As much as it would be great, we've tried it over and over again. And Kamala is trying, as you just mentioned, trying to play both sides.
Yeah.
She wouldn't even answer the question last night during the CNN interview when asked about her support for Israel. She deflected, as she does all the time. Yeah. She speaks out of both sides of her mouth for it. People, and I wanted your thoughts on this. What do you think would happen in a Harris administration to our relationship with Israel?
I honestly think it would be a disaster, and I'll give you a recent example. So Saudi Arabia, who is about to sign the Abraham Accords, right? I just saw this that they're doing joint military drills with Iran. Okay, so they're hedging that Trump's not going to win, and they're gonna, for their own security, they're gonna have to make nice with Iran,
Wow.
right? So it'll be a complete disaster. Harris has shown time and time again she has zero knowledge of foreign policy. And my fears, I always say, are in two buckets, domestic fear and foreign fear. China's doing drills around Taiwan. North Korea just sent troops to Russia to help fight Ukraine. I mean,
Yes.
this is, whether you want to call it a world war yet or not, it sure seems like it.
Yeah.
The world is on fire. And the other thing, that's things that I've heard, I don't know if they're true or not, or just, people speculating, which is probably what it is. But they're saying basically that Netanyahu just wants to do whatever he can in the next 2 weeks because he doesn't know who the next president's going to be and whether he's going to have the same amount of leeway. So I think the whole world is watching. I've seen so many people from other countries be like, dude, Harris, like, what are you guys thinking? Like people in London were chanting like, hey, America, the next person that you elect isn't just going to affect you. It's going to affect us. So it's kind of like anybody who's freedom loving, doesn't want Sharia law, isn't afraid to speak up and say, we want to keep our culture. People can come, but they have to respect our culture and our laws, not try to create their own culture and their own laws and enforce it on us and make us assimilate to them. Anybody who's willing to stand up and say that is kind of, rooting for Trump and, wants sanity back and wants common sense back.
I've seen so many things on Twitter X recently of many people who do not like Trump personally, who have said, I just voted for Trump because I know that, even though I don't like him personally, whatever I've heard, I'm voting for Trump. And I saw a great tweet. The guy says, I don't want to have dinner with Trump. I just want to be able to afford my dinner.
Right.
And I said, that sort of perfectly explains.
What I'll tell you though, Michael, I don't believe it. I think they like Trump. I think they just don't want to say they like it. I did a post like a few months ago. Basically, anybody saying like, oh, I don't know who I'm voting for is voting for Trump. Like, it's just people don't want to get into it. They don't want to take accountability for actually liking the guy, thinking he's entertaining. Everybody loved him before he ran for president.
Oh, yeah.
And like, if you wanted, he's done more cameos in movies than like anyone I can think of. Because if you wanted your movie to do well, you would have a cameo by Donald Trump because he's just so entertaining and he's so funny, but he's also a very successful businessman and knows how to, cut excess, knows how to run large scale businesses, which is, if you think about it, America is that. And he's built up a great team. I love the idea of Elon Musk coming in and trimming the fat. And the reason why he can lower taxes, everybody's like, well, where are you going to get the money to lower taxes? Cutting government costs. That's how I'm going to lower taxes, right?
Yeah. And the tariffs, they're scared. No, the tariffs mostly, yeah. It's a scare tactic. It's a good one. And I saw Kevin O'Leary talk about it. He thought it was, from Shark Tank.
Yeah.
He says, he goes, you tell them we're going to put 200 or 300% tariffs on you. You're going to build in America most of the time, or it's going to cost you a lot of extra money. And some of the people, they don't get it, or they don't want to get it, or they just refuse to see the facts about it. And I've got into arguments with people because I just want to shake them. Like people that I know that are good people, that are smart people, that are just not making a smart decision.
I don't think they're that smart. I have to be honest with you. I think that they're maybe smart in their own business, or maybe smart in certain parts of, in a niche space. But if you can't get past your Trump derangement syndrome to see facts and the numbers that you just read off, or even look at things like, as soon as Trump said that, some companies stopped manufacturing in Mexico and started manufacturing in the US just in case he becomes president. They don't want those tariffs put on those future goods and products that they're going to be bringing into the US. It works. And I posted, I think like last week, November 5th is a national IQ test.
Yeah.
I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how smart you were in your, whatever business it is that you run, if you can't listen to the people that have lived through socialism, if you don't understand that we need to be making our own medicines in America, if you don't, if you don't understand that that's like a national like safety security issue, right? What happens if all of a sudden the countries that make our Tylenols and our antibiotics and all of these things just say, oh, we're not going to ship to you anymore? It takes a while to create the infrastructure to create our own medications, to save lives. So, I mean, these are all issues that have kind of everyone's been sleeping on. And for people who don't see it, I don't see them as smart. I don't. Or maybe they're intelligent, but they're not wise.
Right.
And maybe I'm craving wisdom. I don't know.
Talked about cameos. I remember the cameo in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
That was a great one. When he walked through his hotel, and he's done so much, and yeah, everybody has their flaws. Yeah. Everyone does. I mean, we all have secrets that no one knows. We all have things that we don't anyway, and everyone does. But he sincerely wants to help America. He doesn't have to be doing this. He could be playing golf every day.
Right.
Right. And, just retired and enjoying his life. But he sees, he said, I wish Biden had been successful. If he had, I wouldn't have to do this.
Right.
I would not have to do this, but I'm having to do this because I have to save not only our country, but our world. And I see it for a while after, the second time I was like, okay, it's time to move on and everything. And then I realized as things were going on, and especially after October 7th of last year, I said, no, we still need him.
Because I did the same thing. I was I had a Netflix show. I'm a successful plastic surgeon. I didn't have to start talking about politics. It was dumb. I thought I was going to lose everything. I thought I was going to lose all my patients. I'm in the heart of LA, but I have to tell you, I love seeing, the Latino community praying over him yesterday,
yeah.
And what I realized, and I don't know if I told the story on your podcast, but, did I tell you the story of Abraham and how he prayed for a son for like hundreds of years?
No.
All of a sudden, when Abraham's like a million years old, God gives him a son. And what does God ask him to do with his son? Sacrifice your son. So, Abraham's like, okay, he's taking his son up the mountain to sacrifice him. And at the last moment, God says, stop, don't sacrifice your son. You get to keep your son. And I'm going to give you so much more. So I feel like that's kind of what's happened with me as I was, working so hard to become a plastic surgeon. It took me 33 years. I graduated at the age of 33. And I was willing to give it all up just to say the truth and to say what I think and to, save the America that my parents risked everything to bring me to. And I feel like not only did I get to keep my patients, I got so much more. I'm talking on your podcast. I'm on Fox News all the time. I'm getting a humanitarian award in December.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I just feel like it's kind of like the story of Abraham. And I see Trump the same way when I see people praying over him. He risked like a lot. Like he's the only president that has come out of presidency more poor than when he went in.
Yes.
Obama came out so much more wealthy. Clinton came out so much more wealthy. Biden came out so much more wealthy. And he's the one that actually lost money. He's the only one. And so, but don't you feel like, he's received so much appreciation, so much love. He's literally flipped the party. Like we've never seen so many Black people supporting a Republican. We've never seen so many Latinos supporting a Republican. And I just feel like it's become the party of the people. Kamala's outraised him 10-1. She's got all the billionaires.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of billionaires. But Kamala's got a lot more billionaires. And what's really interesting to me is so many of them were never political. But as soon as Trump said he's going to release the Epstein files, all of a sudden, a lot of people got involved in politics. And so, the RFK files should be released. The Epstein files should be released. And again, they're accusing him, oh, he's on the Epstein. No, he's not. Why would he release it if he was on it? Exactly. You are. You're accusing him of what you are guilty of. So, I think a lot of people, and I understand those assassination attempts, anybody who wants to bring peace gets assassinated. Anyone who wants to reveal the truth gets, assassination attempts. Like, God save him, God protect him. and America deserves transparency and the truth. And there's so much work. There's so much cleanup. There's so much waste. There's so much corruption, which is so sad. I feel like I'm like back in Iran, you know?
Right. I love Dan Bongino, and I listen to his
Mhm.
show and
Yep.
watch all the time. And he said right now, over the next couple of weeks, he's scared to death about another assassination attempt on Trump. And he
Yep.
said not only that, if he wins, he's
Yep.
scared between November 5th and January 20th, they're
Yep.
going to take him out again. I mean, they're going to do whatever they can, because I think that he hasn't said it, but he feels really strongly that the assassination attempts were more than just two individual
Oh,
crazy
I
people.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I mean,
And
history shows that anyone who's wanted peace has been assassinated, whether
yeah,
it's Israel or, India or like,
Martin Luther
the
King, who was
US
murdered
or the
here.
US. Yeah,
Yeah.
peacemakers aren't peace is not profitable, which is
Right.
so disgusting to think about. But yeah, I think the world is, ready for truth and transparency and morality. It's swung so far because we've just been like, oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, it's not going to take over. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And now it has. And everybody's like, whoa, and there's a huge pushback right now.
Yeah, there is. And yeah, like I look at JFK. JFK, I believe, was 100% murdered because he didn't want to go into Vietnam. Martin Luther King, was
Exactly.
murdered here in Memphis in 1968. I don't think James Earl Ray did it, or if he did it, it was him doing it. And a lot of people don't think he did it, but
Yeah.
if he
Yeah.
did, it was a setup through the government, because Martin Luther King wanted peace. And Martin Luther, and back in the 60s, like it was 70% of black households had two parents in the home, and now it's like
Exactly.
20%. And it's like, and then you have Obama coming out speaking to these people that a lot of them got offended this past week,
Yeah.
talking to black men, thinking, who are you? You live in Martha's Vineyard, you have all these mansions, and all of a sudden you're going to come out and talk to us. And then Obama's giving a speech saying, I don't understand where all this divide came from. And I'm thinking to myself,
Yeah.
mother ever, it came from
Yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's you.
exactly. I mean, like, how tone deaf and, detached do you have to be to ask that question? It came from you because when people are divided, the attention is off of all the corruption and all the crap you're doing. You
Right.
know, they want people to be like, you're racist, you're, misogynist, you're this, you're that, because, there's that saying, right? When the king and queen look over the crowd and people are fighting, they go inside and have a glass of champagne because they know no one's going to come take over the castle.
Right.
So it's sort of like, deflect, 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 keep people divided so that you can do all the corrupt things that you want in government.
Yeah. And, and we should have come out after 8 years of having a black president who was elected by white people for the
Right.
most part. We should have come out a stronger, less quote unquote, racially divided country. But he made it worse.
Mhm.
And what did he do for the black people that helped them? I mean, you know what I mean? Trump did more for black people during his four
Right.
years than Obama did during 8.
And we're hearing that a lot from the Black community now. They're like, you basically pander to us to get our vote and then forget about us for 4 years, and they're over it.
Yeah. One of the things that they want to talk about, because they have nothing else to talk about, is go back to January 6th. And a lot of people don't realize that January 6th committee was produced by ABC. It was a production.
Right.
All those people up there, and Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, they're not real Republicans anyway. I mean, you see Liz Cheney up on stage, you're thinking, no, you just want a spot in her administration. You're up there with her. And then just your father supporting her sealed it for many people. Because I mean, him, warmonger made billions off of Halliburton.
Exactly. You know what I heard that is like, I think it's actually like kind of true, is a lot of people went and worked in the first Trump administration just to later come out and say, oh, he said this, or I disagree with this. And it's so profitable because then you're on every news channel, you're on every, like, panel talking about I worked for Trump and now I'm a Democrat, and that's a very profitable position.
Yep.
But I think that, Trump has learned, and I think the campaign has learned who's trustworthy and who's not.
Yeah.
And so I'm really, God willing, really looking forward to the second administration because I think they're going to get a lot done.
Yeah, me too. He obviously has a lot more people surrounding him this time that are smarter, with Lara Trump, and with the RNC.
What a queen.
Yeah, she is awesome.
Yeah.
I love listening to their talk. And he admitted that, hey, if I had to go back, some of the people that I had picked, I took other people's advice and everything. Right. And this goes into my next one. We're talking about the House Administrative Subcommittee on Oversight. This came out on September 16th. Mm-hmm. And it says, previously concealed by the Biden-Harris administration Department of Defense, the subcommittee has uncovered statements by key personnel involved in the deployment of the DC National Guard to the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. These new transcripts indicate that senior Pentagon officials unnecessarily delayed the DC National Guard response to the Capitol due to optics concerns. And here's a few quotes from a few people who we see out there talking bad about Trump. This is from General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Trump. He said, quote, on January 3rd, 2021, the president just says, quote, hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure that you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's a safe event, unquote. POTUS said, quote, hey, I don't care if you use guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe.
I love it. Look at this.
Yeah. Christopher Miller, acting Secretary of Defense. Quote, the president commented they were going to need 10,000 troops the following day. I interpreted it as a bit of presidential banter or Trump just being Trump, in no way, shape, or form did I interpret that as an order or direction. Chief Stevenson, even though it was an order, he was telling him to do it. Right. And then Stevenson, the Capitol Police, the chief, said, I'm making an urgent request for the National Guard. We are being overrun. I gave a quick rundown what was going on. Officers fighting for their lives. We're about to be taken over. The representative from Secretary of the Army said, quote, I don't like the optics of National Guard standing in line with the Capitol in the background. If this does not, that right there, if that does not completely, and then you see the videos Nancy Pelosi, her daughter came out.
Yes. Yeah.
They set him up on this. Now, there are some people that did some things on January 6th that were not good. There were a few people that were out. Absolutely. Yes. But 95+% of the people that were there were not. And all they did was walk through the Capitol, but they set him up purposely. And this right here proves it. Even Milley, who hates him, and he was talking about him, and all these people said that he'd said, do whatever you have to do to make it safe. And during that ABC production, we also know they cut off the end of his speech where he said, peacefully and patriotically protest. This is disgusting.
It's all disgusting. And it has to change. And I think, I do think that the Trump campaign needs to do a better job. I think a lot of times, instead of attacking things head on, they just say, oh, it's such a trigger point, we don't even want to talk about that, let's not even bring it up. And then it becomes kind of incumbent upon us as podcasters and influencers to settle the score. So I think some of the things they have been attacking head on, but a lot of the stuff they're just we don't even want to address it, we don't even want to bring it up because it digs back up the talking point for the other side. And I'm not a political strategist, but I think as an influencer and a speaker, it's something that comes up all the time for me, and it's incumbent upon me and you to bring the truth when, I don't know, I just get a little frustrated sometimes. Maybe there's some strategy behind it I'm not aware of.
Yeah. Right.
Why are we discussing this? Why don't they bring it up?
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody bring up that oversight committee report online. I heard Glenn Beck talk about it. Right. And then I went and looked it up because Glenn was questioning it. Right. And I was he went and found it. So I went online and found it and printed that out. And I'm these guys did say this, and they admitted under oath that Trump did order them. You got to make sure that we are protected that day. And the fact that we weren't, this tells me that they just did not want that Capitol to be protected. They wanted it to be overrun, so they had their optics the way they want it.
Right, yeah. Exactly. But it's just, again, I just don't know why we can pull that up.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be something that's like they go on the news and they talk about? Like, let's have a special on January 6th. We're going to bring all the facts. We're going to present the videos of the Capitol Police escorting, opening the door for the shaman guy to walk in. Why don't we present that? Why don't we present this? Let's do a special on that. Let's clear, or for example, the whole, thing where he said there's good people on both sides.
Yes.
Why did it take like years for someone to find the original video and start posting it online where he says there's good people on both sides? And he goes, the next sentence, I don't mean the white nationalists and like the neo-Nazis who I condemn.
Yeah, and that's
Why
CNBC.
did it take such a long time for that full video to come out to dispute that? It's just, I don't get it. It's sort of like, I feel like it's kind of whack-a-mole. They keep lying. It shouldn't take a year or more for you to, come back with the truth. Israel was weird with that too. Like in the 2021 war, like, a woman would go with like a big machete to like stab someone and obviously would be neutralized. And then the Gaza side would like just show an old lady, like not old lady, but like a lady like dead on the floor. And they would Photoshop out the knife that's in her hand. And then it would take like a month for the IDF to declassify the real photo. But by then it's made its rounds on social media and gone viral. Yeah. Now they're declassifying in minutes. So they've learned their lesson. I just don't know like why, the GOP's not immediately whack-a-moling these lies with facts.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, I think it came out, a woman said, a model from 31 years ago, oh, he groped me in Trump Tower. Yes. And they've already proven that couldn't be true. And I mean, and things like that. It's just like, okay, yeah, 2 weeks before the election. And then you find out you were surrogate for Obama, and involved in the Harris administration. It's like they're desperate to do whatever they have to do.
Yeah.
And the weak leadership of Biden and Harris has put the world on the verge of World War III.
Oh, we're there already. I mean, and like we're not, but Russia's involved, North Korea's involved, China's involved, Taiwan's scared shitless, like Israel, the entire region over there. We're already in a soft World War III. Yeah.
And like I said, you might not like them. You better vote for them because we have to have a strong leader. Next week, Tuesday, November 5th, which many believe is, not only we talked about make or break for America, but our world. I said, Donald Trump is not the perfect person. None of us are. He, though, is strong. He's witty. He can answer the questions. He'll go on anywhere with anyone, just like JD Vance does. Answer any questions anytime on any of the networks where they won't do that. Or if they go on those networks or even friendly networks, they can't even answer the questions. I mean, layups, they can't even answer those. Trump derangement syndrome is so bad in people, I think, that you could tell some people, hey, if I told you that inflation would be back down to 1.4% where it was when he left office, food prices would come down, gas prices would go down to about $2 as we drill, baby, drill, more jobs for Americans. The southern border would be safe again where it was when he left office. Safer, stable America, into the wars, which he had none during his presidency. Even if you told the ones with TDS, all that would happen, I think a lot of them probably still wouldn't vote for him because, oh, well, he's a meanie and he tweets mean things and he's just not always presidential, because so many of these people have been brainwashed by all the lies from the mainstream media and the Democratic Party and the former disgruntled generals and people who worked in his administration. You talked about that were there maybe as plants to make him look bad. Dan Scavino, by the way, came out with a tweet that said to some of the people, hey, some of you that worked with us that gave up on us on this, I forget what date he said, stop calling me, stop sending me text messages. I don't want to have anything to do. You weren't there. Now you're thinking we're going to win, and now you want back in again.
Right,
Uh,
exactly. See, all those people, the grifters and the opportunists, need to be kept out.
yeah, she's not going to build a wall.
No.
She's going to give amnesty to all these people that are here, including many people that are criminals, rapists, murderers, etc.
Well,
Because
she already said it. She
yeah,
said it.
I
She
mean,
said, I want a path to citizenship for all these people. She said it.
and the bill that she talks about, which is a joke of a bill, would
Yeah.
still bring in an additional 2 million minimum, illegals a year, not including the ones that they're flying in that they're not telling us about that they're still doing to overrun these cities that can handle them.
Yeah.
You know, if you had a final message to people before they vote, if people have not already done early voting, what would you say to them if you had a final message about how important this is?
Honestly, Michael, I think people have made up their minds. I think we just need to get out the vote. And I'm sure people listening to your podcast, the majority are probably, Trump supporters anyways. You guys, and I'm done kind of shaming the Jews. I'm on to shaming the Christians. Are you kidding me? These people are anti-God. You heard Kamala Harris say you're at the wrong rally.
Yes.
And says Jesus is king. I'm shaming the pastors. I'm shaming the Christians at this point. Go and vote. It's so easy to win this. People who want to remove God, you're letting them do it. You can't just pray for the country. Yes, pray too. I always tell this story, final message. There's a guy, his boat capsizes. He's floating in the middle of the ocean. A guy comes by in a speedboat and says, "Give me your hand." And he says, "No, God will save me." The speedboat leaves. Another guy comes with a bigger boat and throws him a life raft. He pushes the life raft away and he says, "No, God will save me." The guy ends up drowning, goes to heaven, meets God and said, "God, why didn't you save me?" And he said, "Who do you think sent you the small boat and the life raft?" We have all been given the tools to do God's work. Right now, we need to save America and we need to save the world. We need peace. We need transparency. We need a safe country. We need a future for our children where they can have the American dream just like I did. And all you need to do is freaking fill in a bubble and turn it in. That is doing God's work right now. So my final message is, dear Jews, dear peace-loving Muslims who like Donald Trump, dear Christians, the majority of America, go and vote. Like, this should be a cakewalk. Go and vote.
Absolutely. You're so very inspirational. I started following you on Instagram, and I have such, respect for what you do and who you are. And I didn't know that, it was, you were 33 when you finally became a plastic surgeon. So you haven't obviously, I know how old you are, so you haven't been doing it for that long.
11 years, 12 years, 11 years. Yeah.
Yes. For how you came up, what you went through in an early life to get here and to do where you are now. It's just really an amazing story. And, Doc, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, for the third time. I definitely would love to have you come on again sometime in the future and talk about, politics or other things too.
Sure.
You're so knowledgeable about so many things, and it's been such a pleasure having you on. So
thank you so much,
I really appreciate your time.
Of course.
Thanks, Doc.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.